In the early 15th century, decades before Christopher Columbus or Vasco da Gama even set sail, the greatest armada the world had ever seen departed from the shipyards of Nanjing. It was a fleet of hundreds of ships, some so large they were called treasure ships, carrying thousands of men across the Indian Ocean. At the helm of this massive projection of power was not a traditional naval officer, but a captive from the mountains of Yunnan who rose through the imperial eunuch system to become the emperor's most trusted diplomat. His name was He, but history remembers him as the great Admiral Zheng He. His life was a journey of constant transformation, from a young prisoner of war to a devout Muslim pilgrim, and finally to the commander of a maritime empire that stretched from the shores of China to the Swahili coast of Africa. His story is one of social mobility, religious identity, and the eventual collision between a vision of global expansion and a wall of conservative isolationism. Welcome to Muslim Biographies, where we uncover the forgotten giants of Islamic history whose contributions shaped our world. The story of Zheng He begins in 1371 in the landlocked mountainous province of Yunnan. He was born into the Hui ethnic group, a community of Chinese Muslims whose roots in the region stretched back to the Mongol Yuan dynasty. His original name was He, the surname Ma being the common Chinese rendering of Muhammad, a testament to his family's deep-rooted faith. Islam wasn't just a religion for his family, it was a legacy of global connection. Both his father and grandfather had held the title of Hajj, meaning they had performed the long, perilous journey to Mecca. Growing up in the high plateaus of Yunnan, young He would have listened to stories of the Arabian deserts, the Red Sea, and the great brotherhood of the Ummah that existed far beyond China's borders. These stories planted the first seeds of a global curiosity that would define his life. But in 1381, his world was shattered. The newly established Ming Dynasty sent an army of 300,000 soldiers to Yunnan to crush the last remnants of Mongol rule. He's father died defending the province, and the 10-year-old boy was captured. Following the brutal custom of the time for high-value captives, He was castrated and sent to the imperial court to serve as a eunuch. It was a moment of profound trauma that could have broken a lesser spirit, but for He, it was the beginning of an improbable rise. He was assigned to the household of Prince Jade, the fourth son of the Ming Emperor and a formidable military leader stationed on the northern frontier. In the harsh, cold environment of the military camps near modern-day Beijing, a deep bond formed between the captive and the prince. He proved to be more than just a servant. He was a brilliant military strategist. He was described as a man of imposing stature, over 6 feet tall with a booming voice and a commanding presence. When Prince Jade launched a bloody civil war to seize the imperial throne from his nephew, He was his most loyal commander. At the Battle of Beiping, He displayed such tactical genius that the newly crowned Yongle emperor granted him a new noble surname, Zheng. From that moment on, the boy from the mountains was known as Zheng He. The Yongle emperor had a grand, almost obsessive vision for China. He wanted to re-establish the Middle Kingdom as the undisputed center of the world. He moved the capital to Beijing, built the Forbidden City, and commissioned the greatest naval project in human history. To lead it, he didn't choose a traditional Han Chinese admiral. He chose the one man who possessed military brilliance, total loyalty, and crucially, the cultural flexibility to navigate the Islamic world, Zheng He. In 1405, Zheng He stood on the deck of his flagship as the first expedition departed from the shipyards of Nanjing. The scale of the fleet was, quite literally, unbelievable to those who witnessed it. It consisted of over 300 ships and nearly 28,000 men, an army at sea. At the heart of the fleet were the Baohuan, or treasure ships. According to the Ming chronicles, these wooden giants were over 440 feet long and 180 feet wide. They featured 9 masts and 12 sails of red silk. For centuries, Western historians believed these dimensions were an exaggeration, until archaeologists in the 20th century unearthed a massive 36-foot-long steering oar in a Nanjing shipyard. The math was undeniable. The ships were real. These ships were floating cities. They weren't just designed for war, they were designed for prestige. They carried doctors to study foreign medicine, astronomers to map the southern stars, and linguists who spoke Arabic, Persian, and various Southeast Asian dialects. They even had specialized water tankers and ships dedicated solely to growing fresh vegetables in tubs of soil to ensure the crew didn't succumb to scurvy. Between 1405 and 1433, Zheng He led 7 epic voyages. He was not a conqueror in the European sense, he was a Grand Director. His mission was to establish the tributary system, a series of diplomatic alliances where foreign rulers acknowledged the Chinese emperor in exchange for lavish gifts and protection. Zheng He's Islamic heritage became his secret weapon. When the fleet arrived in the Muslim sultanates of Malacca, Java, and the Malabar coast of India, Zheng He didn't arrive as a stranger. He visited local mosques, donated to Islamic charities, and participated in prayers. In Malacca, he helped the local sultan secure his kingdom against rivals, effectively turning the city into a strategic Chinese protectorate and a booming hub for Islamic trade. In Calicut, India, he used his knowledge of Arabic to negotiate trade deals with local merchants. His presence sent a powerful message. The most powerful empire in the world was led in part by a man who shared their faith. By the 4th voyage, the fleet pushed further west than ever before, reaching the Persian Gulf and the Swahili coast of East Africa. In Mogadishu and Malindi, the local leaders were so awestruck that they sent ambassadors back to China, carrying exotic gifts like lions, leopards, and most famously, a giraffe. When the giraffe arrived in the Forbidden City, the emperor's scholars declared it was a qilin, a mythical creature that only appears during the reign of a perfectly just ruler. Perhaps the most personal moment of Zheng He's career occurred during the later voyages. Despite being a high-ranking official in a Confucian court, Zheng He never forgot the faith of his father. While the main fleet anchored in the ports of the Red Sea, Zheng He facilitated the travel of Chinese Muslim pilgrims to Mecca. He sent a specialized detachment of his fleet to the port of Jeddah. Historical records show that these representatives visited the Kaaba and sketched the holy sites to show the emperor. There is evidence that Zheng He himself, though weighed down by the duties of the fleet, saw these journeys as the fulfillment of his family's multi-generational dream. He was the bridge between the Far East and the holy cities, proving that a person could be a loyal subject of the Son of Heaven while remaining a humble servant of Allah. Every great story has its tragedy, and for Zheng He, the tragedy was political. While he was at sea, a bitter power struggle was unfolding in the Forbidden City. A faction of conservative Confucian scholar officials viewed the voyages with intense hostility. To them, the expeditions were a colossal waste of money that should have been spent on the Great Wall to defend against northern nomads. They argued that China was self-sufficient and had no need for strange things from distant lands. When the Yongle emperor died, his successors were more easily influenced by this isolationist faction. In 1433, during his 7th voyage, the great admiral passed away. Some records say he died in Calicut, others say he died at sea on the return journey. He was 62 years old. Following his wishes, he was reportedly buried at sea, his body committed to the Indian Ocean he had mastered. Back in Nanjing, a symbolic tomb was built, containing his clothes and hair, a shrine that still stands today. After his death, the reaction was swift and brutal. The new emperor ordered the fleet to be dismantled. The treasure ships were left to rot. Most devastatingly, the court officials burned the logs and charts of Zheng He's voyages, attempting to erase his achievements from history so that no future emperor would be tempted to follow in his wake. China turned its back on the sea, entering a period of isolation that would last for centuries. The legacy of Admiral Zheng He is a testament to what is possible when a culture looks outward with curiosity rather than inward with fear. If China had continued his voyages, the age of discovery might have looked very different. We might have seen a global exchange based on diplomacy and trade rather than the colonial conquest that followed a century later. Zheng He was a man of many worlds, a captive who became a commander, a Chinese official who remained a faithful Muslim, and a sailor who mapped the world long before the maps were finished. He showed that diplomacy can be more powerful than the sword, and that the ocean is not a barrier, but a bridge. Today, in the mosques of Indonesia and the ports of East Africa, the memory of Zheng He is still honored. He remains a symbol of the global reach of the Islamic faith and the enduring power of a man who refused to be defined by his tragedies. If this gave you a new perspective on history, subscribe to Muslim Biographies. We uncover the forgotten giants whose contributions shaped our world, because history has the answers if you know where to look.